Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The Uncanny X-Men 183 from 1984. We've got Colossus dressed in his regular clothes, fighting the Juggernaut, who is also in his regular clothes, as Wolverine and Nightcrawler look on. So this is solo, mano a mano. No X-Men versus the Juggernaut. So, all right. This is the X-Men Classic. As you all know, if you've been following, I have a playlist. Paul Smith, by the way, is the cover artist. I started from Classic X-Men #1, and I have an X-Men playlist. I have a New Mutants playlist. I have an X-Universe playlist where I combine absolutely everything. So the Wolverine limited series, the Marvel fanfare, the first 4 Marvel fanfares that Claremont had written are in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. So it's all done in reading order. So, all right. So as you know, the X-Men were on a battle world for the Secret Wars. And while they were up there, I've covered the first 6 issues. I haven't quite gotten to finish it as of this recording. I do have a Secret Wars playlist. Colossus fell in love, and Chris Claremont will give us a little bit of exposition and for what's going on. But this lady, Zaji, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She healed, so she was a healer. But a side effect of that healing is that it makes the person fall in love with her. So we've got a heartbroken because Colossus did end up leaving Zaji, and spoiler alert, she did die. It's gonna be put in here, but it's poor Kitty Pryde. As you know, Colossus and Kitty Pryde were in sort of a relationship, but after this issue, not anymore. By the way, Kitty cut her hair. So we start with Colossus and Kitty Pryde sitting on this bluff, and you can see the lake down here. I love the magenta sky being put in here. So, and Colossus just sits there and says, "A lovely day," and Kitty says, "Sure is." Now he thinks here, how do I break? How do I tell her when I know it will break her heart? And then Kitty thinks here, he's so tense. I've never seen Peter so upset. He's hardly said a word to me since the X-Men returned home. Whatever's troubling him must be awful. And then out loud, she says, "Gee, you and the X-Men got kidnapped to the far side of the universe, and you didn't take me along. I'm hurt. Anything interesting happened out there?" And he just spits it out. "I met someone else. We fell in love." Oh, brutal. "He'll Never Make Me Cry" is the title of our story. Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., and Dan Green, who, by the way, Dan Green, rest in peace. He'll be the inker through Mark Silvestri's run, covering almost all the issues. So, all right. We got Tom Ozakowski, Glynis Wein, Anna Senti. I think this is her second issue as editor. Louise Simonson is gone. Louise Simonson is going to be a freelance writer. I think Power Pack is the book that she's going to be coming through. So, and then Jim Shooter's still the editor-in-chief. So, Anna Senti was great editor too. So, this is sort of the golden age of X-Men here. So she just goes, "Oh." And one of the things here, Glynis Ween, again, I love the magenta sky, but I would have, with the magenta sky, I probably wouldn't have done the water. I would have done a little bit more purplish something, perhaps. I don't know. But pretty cool. And so Colossus says, "I wish I knew what to say, Kitty." And she's like, "Tell me it's a joke. Tell me anything but the truth. Trouble is, you're too honorable to lie. That's one of the things I love about you." And she says, anyone I know?" And he says, "No, she was a native of the planet the Beyonder created, a healer. She saved my life." And she says, as she thinks here, "So did I." And she says, and she asks, "Was she pretty?" And Colossus says, "As beautiful as the dawn, as gentle as a spring rain." And she goes in her head thinking, poetry from the man who said he never had words to express what was in his heart and soul. I guess he found the words for her, never for me. And he's looking, just sitting there. And if you look at his eyes, he's looking this way and not even noticing. I mean, she's having a breakdown. He's like, oh, that is, oh, pretty sad here. And then she's like, "Shut up, Peter. Please don't say any more. It hurt too much." Now, keep in mind, Kitty is like 15 years old. Let's just figure out that they aged her. This would be her first breakup. I mean, this is her first relationship. Goodness gracious. So, and Colossus says, "She was a country girl from a small farming village, like my home in Russia. I still cannot believe she's gone." I love the oh goodness gracious, the screen tones that are being applied there. Those are pretty cool. Anytime I see screen tones, I always have to make mentions of them. So, and so Kitty's just crying here. So, "She died in my arms, Kitty. She gave her life for me." And then she thinks again, he really cared for her. He still does. His voice sounds like Grandpa's pride when Gran died. So, and Kitty says, "I'm sorry for your loss, Peter. She must have meant the world to you, as much as you once did." And she's like, "Once?" Oh my goodness gracious, Colossus, you jerk. Now, keep in mind that yes, Colossus is an adult Colossus. Let's say so. Let's age them both up. So she was 14, now 15. So he was 18, now 19. It's not exactly like Colossus is like a 40-year-old. So, I would give anything for this to never have happened. And she thinks that makes two of us. I did not mean it. I did not want it, but it has, Kitty. So I cannot deny what I felt and still feel. And she says, "I understand, Peter. You pick up the pieces, start over again. That's very mature for a kid. This is very hard for me." "It's easy for me," says Kitty, and then he calls her out. Why won't you call me Katya anymore, Peter? Have I changed?" Again, some more screen tones here. Oh, Colossus is being so... And he says, "I have. My feelings have. I care for you deeply, Kitty. But the love I felt, the commitment, is no longer there." So... And look at her. But, she's got Doug Ramsey, but nothing ever developed into it, so... And so she's thinking, "Hey, God, why me, huh? What'd I do to deserve this? It isn't fair. It isn't right," she says. And so Kitty out loud says, "Well, I always wanted what was best for you, Peter. If that means you loving someone other than me, I guess those are the breaks." That is too mature for a 15-year-old girl. "I hope we can remain friends." And so Kitty says, we're X-Men, Peter. That's a bond nothing's supposed to break. Look, I hate to run, but I've got a lot of homework. I better get back. We'll talk later, okay?" See ya, as she walks away. So, all right. So, Claremont is telling us it's been 2 years here. So, let's assume, so 1450, so she's 16. So, maybe, but still, characters normally don't age this much. It's like Claremont's almost running in real time. Um, so she's walking through and she thinks here, I should call mom for advice. Find out what she did when dad told her the marriage was over. And she says, Storm's watching. I guess she knows. Everyone probably knows. Don't sweat it, Storm. I'm a big girl. I can handle things fine. I'll make you proud. I'll be as strong and tough and heartless as you. So, all right. So she walks in here and she continues thinking, that was cruel. She cares. Maybe she was trying to warn me when she told me nothing lasts, that in the end we all live our lives alone. If I fall in love, I said, will it only be for a little while? Will the person I love stop loving me? Now I know. Trouble is, I never dreamed that happened, much less so soon. And Eliana says, how'd it go, Kitty, with my brother? And she holds her bear, says, and says, Peachy King, Eliana, what'd you expect? And there's the her little dragon. Woo, low key. Not really low keyed. I'm fine. And she's like starts to cry. And Eliana goes and the two of them hug. Oh. Claremont is by the way, this is Tom Selleck's Magnum PI, which is the hot guy during that time. So all right. And so Storm's going into the danger room, and Rogue is in a combat sequence, and she's tossing these androids and or robots here, and she's hit from behind. This one in it's Claremont says the robot moves in for the kill, but it is destroyed by a lightning bolt that Storm caused. And she says, "Oh, thank the goddess, she is unhurt." And Storm says, "What possessed you, girl? Not only working alone, but running a program that might have meant your death." And Rogue says, "It's my life, Ororo, to do with as I please." And she says, "So long as you're an X-Men, you are my responsibility. What happened between you and Michael Rossi?" she asked. "You have been behaving like a mad woman ever since." And she's like, "I am a mad woman." Remember, she's from the South. And so, Rogue, do not bottle your emotions within you. I know that agony I know that agony that it can bring. But we're your teammates, your friends. If you will allow, let us help. And so she's gives her hand. You're wearing gloves. That makes it safe for you to reach out. No risk. I can't steal your mind and memories, destroy your life the way I have others. I don't want your pity, Storm, and there's nothing you or your precious Professor X can do to help. Stay away from me, will ya? Just leave me alone. And if you remember last issue, that she had that thing with, um, you'll see why she's a little bit not doing very well here. So, man, Claremont just loves the drama. Goodness gracious. And so Storm says, "You picked the perfect weekend to be off with the New Mutants, Professor. You are sorely missed and needed," she says. Or she thinks. And Storm continues, "Rogue's bitterness and fear over her uncontrollable powers may well drive her back to the Brotherhood of Mutants." I don't like saying evil because I don't think they consider themselves evil. "And heaven only knows what will come of Peter's conversation with Kitty. I heard her sobbing. Poor thing, Ileana was with her. It felt somehow wrong for me to intrude then." And finally down here, "I love Peter dearly, but better he had died on the Beyonders world than returned to bring my kitten such grief." What the heck, Storm? Oh. And so here comes Colossus, all sulking, and here's Wolverine and Shadow here. "About time, bub. I was beginning to think you'd never show up." Wolverine, he says, "I was walking, trying to clear my thoughts, And Wolverine says, "A little late, ain't ya? The damage has been done." And she says, "Let me pass." Uh, and Wolverine says, "Nope, you're coming with me into town for a little long overdue talk." And he says, "Some other time, perhaps. I'm really not in the mood." And Wolverine says, "I don't recall giving you a choice," as he gives him his jacket here. And you can see Nightcrawler, "Bath, Wolverine?" And he's the question marks here. And so Wolverine, he keeps calling out, "Logan, you promised you wouldn't do anything." And he teleports, "Without me. Don't bother with the door, Peter. I'll teleport inside." Nightcrawler, the stench. And so that's because Nightcrawler actually teleports through a dimension of hell. So that's that brimstone there. "I'll open a window. I know you'd prefer seeing Peter by yourself, Logan, but occasionally it's useful to have a referee along as well, just in case things get out of hand." And Wolverine says, "Wonderful." Again, look at the screen tone being applied here. That's really nice. And so, Kitten, dinner's on the table. And she says, "Thanks, Ororo. I'm not hungry," as she's packing here. "You've been up here by yourself all afternoon. Are you packing?" "Uh-huh. I phoned the professor, explained things. We had a good talk. I figured I needed a couple, I needed a change of scene, a couple of weeks of relative normalcy, you know. I haven't seen Dad in ages. I owe him a visit. I'm catching the morning flight to Chicago, and maybe afterwards I'll stop by my mom's," she says. "The professor gave me his permission," she says. Now, here's the thing. Ileana will not be back until the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine limited series. So she'll be gone for a little bit of time. So when next we see her, it will be in the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, which I will be covering when it's time. So and so Storm asks for how long, and Kitty says, "Nothing's definite yet. I'll play things by ear." And then Storm says, "Is this goodbye?" And Kitty says, "Part of me wants it to be. I can't stop crying, Ororo, but I'll die before I let Peter see my tears. He doesn't deserve them. Uh, and I don't care how unfair that sounds. When I'm out of tears, then maybe I'll be back." So, uh, you know, um, you know what I wish more than anything? That I could resurrect Peter's beloved to life, to perfect health right here in Salem Center. At least then I'd have something to fight. So, poor thing. But how do you compete with a ghost? Oh, cripes, here I go again as she starts crying. Bear bear with it, child. Endure. The pain will pass. I hate him, Ororo, with all my heart. I love him. So, oh, I'm telling you, Claremont just loves the drama. So now we're in Dallas here. And so what's basically going to happen is Valerie Cooper. We're about to have an introduction to Forge, which I believe this will be his first appearance coming up here. And so Valerie Cooper is driving and says, um, "Bob Kelly's Mutant Affairs bill certainly stirred up the hornet's nest we expected. This is the year for anti-government paranoia. Thank you, George Orwell." So, a pity people don't realize mutants may prove more dangerous than nuclear weapons. We're in a race against time to develop and exploit our mutant assets before the Soviets or anyone else do. And so her assistant, this is Valerie Cooper over here, says, "Mutants are born, Val, not made. You can't rush the process here." So, true for the present, but there were alternative means of detecting and deterring hostile activity. Hopefully, your man Forge can provide them. So, this is actually Mystique in disguise. Um, and if you remember, several issues. If back on the playlist, you'll if you remember, she is undercover with the government. I like how she says the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I don't believe they would consider themselves evil. So, and so she's saying, what would you do if you knew I was Mystique? I'll take the necessary uh, steps to protect herself, ensure the group's survival. Whatever the devices Forge has crafted for you, you're both beaten before you've begun, and quite possibly as good as dead. So now we're back in New York. So this must next issue will be probably Forge's first appearance. So we're in this bar here, and so um, they had some supper here, and Colossus says, "Dinner was excellent, my friends." And Nightcrawler says, "Ja, but it left me with a terrible thirst. Peter, would you mind ordering the first round?" And so, 3 draft and a whiskey chaser for the cowboy. "Okay, I want to see some ID. You look a little too young to me, fella." And he goes, "I'm nearly 20. And he's like, "Got proof?" Peter's being carded. "So what? He's legal. Logan, I know your intentions for tonight. If you're smart, then, elf, you'll stay out of my way," as he lights up the cigarette. "He's just a boy," says Nightcrawler. "Then he deserves a spanking. If he's a man, though, it's time he faced the consequences of his actions. Either way, I'm taking a piece out of him." So, now it's been some hours here, and if you look this big person here, this is, of course, the Juggernaut. So, now, there's going to be a couple of things revealed toward the end of this issue. If you haven't read this, I won't spoil it for you, but we'll get to it here. And so Wolverine says, "You owe Kitty an apology and us an explanation." And Colossus says, "I told you I fell in love with another. Is that a crime?" "What you felt wasn't love," says Wolverine. "How do you know? Are your enhanced senses able to see into my heart and soul? By what right do you tell me how to run my life?" And Wolverine says, "You're making a bad mistake, Pete, and you're hurting 2 people I care for. Yourself, dummy, and Kitty." So, should I have lied to her, pretending emotions that no longer exist? That would have been true cruelty. And Nightcrawler says, "Are you certain of your feelings, I mean?" And he says, "Yeah, absolutely. You sure you ain't just scared?" And he's like, "Of what?" And he's just looking at both of them. And Wolverine says, "Sometimes, bub, winning's as hard to deal with as losing." And Wolverine says, "Kitty's not a kid anymore." And that's not true. She's 15. She's definitely a kid. "You two were going beyond playing games. You were thinking marriage, a life together. At the same time, you suddenly had competition from Doug Ramsey, someone Kitty's age, as smart as her, with the same upbringing and interests. It's easy to moon over a lost love, to fantasize over what might have been, secure in the knowledge that'll never happen again. It makes a great excuse for not facing the risk and demands of reality." And Colossus is like, "Who are you to talk? You walked away from the woman you profess to love. Ooh, ouchie. I left Mariko because she asked me. Our separation is a matter of honor and duty. For us, that transcends love, no matter how much it hurts," as he takes a drink of the beer. Again, some more screen tones being used. "If I had truly loved Kitty, Wolverine, how then could I have so easily fallen for another?" And Wolverine says, "Fear makes a body do stupid things sometimes." He's like, "Whoa, do you call me a coward?" And he's like, "Yep." And then he's like, "I know that scent." And so he, of course, knows, as he faces through the crowd, he detects the Juggernaut. With this woman right here, this woman will be very important. So... And so Wolverine's like, "He's in civvies, relaxed and on the prowl. Looks like the X-Men are the last thing on his mind, which suits me fine." And Wolverine's like, "He hasn't spotted us. I aim to keep it that way. We've got to get out of this joint fast and quiet without attracting any attention. He's seen us out of costume. He knows our faces." And Wolverine says, "On your feet, boy. You need some air." And he's drunk already. And Nightcrawler asks, "What is it?" And Wolverine says, "Port ahead, elf. Meet me outside. I'll explain there." And so he Colossus is like, and suppose I do not wish to leave, Petey. That tears it, and then he falls and slips and puts the beer on the Juggernaut. And he says, "Forgive me, sir. It was an accident. I will be glad to repay." Darn straight, bozo. Only money ain't enough. I'm taking it out of your hide as he pushes Colossus and crashes through. And Colossus, now we're gonna get into the action part of this issue now. And Colossus, well, uses his power to take the metal on and hit. He goes, "Had I not transformed into my armored self, that impact might have killed me. I did not desire a fight, comrade, but since you insist, I will give you one. You will never forget." And Nightcrawler goes, "I better stop this, Wolverine. That man at the bar hasn't a prayer." And Wolverine stops him and says, "Nice thought, pal, but if anyone's in trouble, it's Petey Duck." As the chair goes over him. "We'll move if things get out of hand. Till then, I aim to sit back and enjoy the show as we are going to have Juggernaut versus Colossus." So, and Wolverine goes, "It's what the boy deserves. It's what I was planning to do to him myself." And so all these people fighting. And the girl in black moves towards this guy. And so she's like, "How kind you are, handsome. I feel much safer with you beside me." So we're just going to kind of move on here. Colossus doesn't recognize that this is Juggernaut. Of course, Juggernaut does recognize that this is Colossus here. But he snaps this in here. They're going to wreck this this poor bar here. Colossus is like, "How come Wolverine and Nightcrawler aren't helping me?" But so here we go. Look at this. List the whole thing. Juggernaut. Oh my goodness gracious. So everybody is going to run out of the bar, and he's like, "Ha!" And he's about to leave, and then here comes Colossus and gets him from behind here. So John Romita doing very good work. I've said it in the past. I wish Paul Smith would have stayed, but I think John Romita really did come into his own on XMen during this era. So Nightcrawler's like, "Logan, the bar's in shambles. We have to do something." And he goes, "Got any suggestions?" asks Wolverine. "That's the Juggernaut, pal. The closest thing on Earth to an irresistible force. Look, if the insurance won't cover the damages, I will. This is one scrap worth paying for." And Colossus asks Nightcrawler, "He said he didn't need us, Elf. I'm taking him at his word." And here comes Colossus. "That sucker was my Sunday punch." So, alright. And so, oh, he is just destroying this whole building. I don't think Wolverine has this much money for a Manhattan building, even in the 80s here. So, the building falls in love with him, or falls on him. And, Wolverine says, "Not too shabby, Muscles. I missed you clowns. How come?" "Just lucky, I guess." You looking for a piece of this action?" And Wolverine says, "No." "Smart play, Shrimp. You tell the kid from me, he did himself proud. He's got guts and a heart, and he throws a mean right hook. And but if him or you or any of the X-Men get in my way again, even by accident, I won't be so nice." And Wolverine says, "Neither will we." And he throws this big gobs of money. This is for the owner to fix this place. And that is really nice of Juggernaut for some reason. So, be seeing ya. Count on it, bub. Unless he's got like, I doubt that this wad of cash is enough to fix a building in Manhattan, even if it's a small building. So, anyway, he says, "Be seeing ya. Count on it, bub. How you doing, hero? All the pieces still work?" As Colossus gets up, he's like, "Where's Juggernaut?" He goes, "Gone. Party's over. You lost. You let me fight alone. You didn't even try to stop him." He says, "Yup. We are X-Men. We're supposed to stand by each other. He says, that's the theory. But you betrayed that trust. Oh, yeah, we stand together. Is that right? Through thick and thin, no matter what. Yes, he says. We go to the wall for each other. Yes, pay any price, make any sacrifice, our lives, even our honor. Yes, like you did for Kitty. And so she's 14, Peter. No, she's not. She was 14. 2 years have passed. So Claremont made a boo boo. She is not 14. So she was 14. Or was she 13? Maybe she was 13. Then she'd be 15. So she's not. So what else? That would have made her 12. That would make it even weirder. No, I. Oh, Chris Claremont. So anyway, let's move on. Anyway, but to save you, she agreed to marry Caliban and join the Marlocks. If Caliban hadn't released her from that bow, she'd be there today. You never even said thank you. Food for thought. So I've covered that issue. So, and so we are now in the last page. So we're finally gonna reveal who the lady was here. So that was very harsh, Logan, and unforgiving, says Nightcrawler. So am I, says Wolverine. Peter never once considered her feelings, Kurt. What she was going through, he never gave her a chance to explain, or them. Both one, or explain, or them both want to work things out. It's like the boy just cut her out of his heart, which is true. He's very young, says Nightcrawler, kind of defending him. And Wolverine's like, he owed that girl a blood debt obligation and he welched. A body can't do that, especially to someone they love. More so, someone they respect. I'm glad he had to learn the hard way. It's a waste. It's a taste of what he did to Kitty. He knows now what he did. Next time, whatever the outcome, he'll act from choice, not ignorance. So, is there hope, Logan? Will there be a next time for Peter and Kitty? That's their business, pal, their decision, their lives. And so here we are. You should feel blessed, Steward. Only the finest, the best humanity has to offer are called upon to sacrifice their lives for the goddess incarnate. Unfortunately, you are but a morsel. The man mountain I chose earlier would have been a feast. No matter. There will be other opportunities to claim him and his friends. After 2,000 years of exile, Selene is once more free to walk the wide, wonderful world, to hunt, and in time to rule. So Selene first appeared in the New Mutants, which I have covered. I have it, the New Mutants, on both the X Universe and the New Mutants playlist. So feel free to check that out, and you'll see her first appearance. Otherwise, head to that Marvel fan site link that I provided in the description, and you can just click on her name and you can get her origins. So, next issue, The Past of Future Days. Uncanny X-Men 183. Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., and Dan Green. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.